extinction of ignorance and so forth, down to neither old age and death nor extinction of old age and death, no suffering, no cause, no cessation, no path, no knowledge, and no attainment, with nothing to attain a bodhisattva, realize samprajna paramita, and thus the mind is without hindrance, there is no fear far beyond all inverted views, one realizes nirvana, all Buddhas, past, present, and future, rely on prajna paramita, and thereby attain unsurpassed, complete, perfect enlightenment. Therefore know the prajna paramita as the great miraculous mantra, the great right mantra, the supreme mantra, the incomparable mantra, which removes all suffering and is true, not false. Therefore we proclaim the prajna paramita mantra, the mantra that says Gate, Gate, Para, Gate, Para, Samgate, Bodhisattva.
Having chanted the high, great, perfect wisdom sutra, we reverently offer the Mary to great benefactor and founder of the doctrine, the original teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. To the countless Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that permeate the myriad worlds, to the eternal three jewels being the 10 directions, and to all teachers of the true Dharma who transmitted the flame, that we may receive their compassionate blessings. We further offer this merit to all the Dharma protecting devas, to the Dharma protecting saints, to the rare spirit of this place, to the temple protecting spirits. What we pray for is flourishing of the true Dharma, peace in the land, harmony among nations, tranquility within the Sangha, wisdom and prosperity for countless supporters, continual turning of the two wheels. May we with all beings realize the Buddha way.
All
recitation of the great compassionate hearted Rani to all beings in the 3 worlds and 6 realms, and especially to Mitzi Evans, Robert Leaman, Mildred Myers, Brian Tenzing, Javian, Gary Spoon, Dan Gorridge, Akiya Higashi, Marsha Izumi, Rona McIntosh, Rod Rayner, Julia Rayner, Masako, Kathy Clevenger, Elizabeth Starr Dillon Moran, Karen Hine, Gary Garman, Sue Critus, Gavin McComas, David Brassett, Gardy Wells, Jim Peters, Lloyd Plord, Friendly Charles Morse, Renee Nicole Good, Bobby Ware, and to all those who have died in natural and human-made disasters, including acts of terrorism, violence, political persecution, and war. May they be serene through the transition we call death. We also dedicate this merit to Kesserain and Bailey, MJC, Danielle, Betty Gordon, Cindy, David, Gavera, Kate Berger, Face, Lauren Goria, mothers. May the heart of compassion illuminate their lives. We pray that all beings may prosper and all misfortunes cease. Zazen. have just a little more light. My eyes are old. Thank you so much. And as we shed some light on the subject, welcome everyone. It's really great to see you all here. Let's start with names, and we have a way of doing it now. Yes.
Kosei.
Kosei.
Yosei.
Yosei. Daoren.
Jikie. Jakuen.
Hojo.
Jiko.
Ogyoku.
Tracy.
Marissa. Joshin. Ider. Benjamin. Rob. Nate. Danielle. Charles. Shuho. Ian.
Sokai.
Iso.
Shanae.
Anu.
Unshin,
Unshin,
Susan,
Susan,
Josiah,
Josiah,
John,
John,
Elliot,
Elliot,
Genpo,
Genpo,
Aaron,
Aaron, Eric,
Tojun,
Tojun,
Emmanuel,
Emmanuel,
Molly,
Molly,
Todd,
Todd,
Carrie,
Carrie,
Jisho,
Jisho,
Paul,
Paul,
Zach,
Zach,
Issei,
Issei,
June,
June,
Christian,
Christian,
Kishin,
Kishin,
Mandy,
Mandy,
Seo,
Seo,
Shinyu,
Shinyu,
Tetsugen,
Tetsugen,
KGN,
Keijian,
Dawn,
Dawn,
Karuna,
Karuna,
Colleen,
Colleen,
Chris,
Chris,
Arya,
Arya,
Alita,
Alita,
Harmony,
Harmony,
Jokai,
Jokai,
Novon,
Noval,
Margaret,
Margaret,
Stephen,
Stephen,
Mike,
Mike,
Matthias,
Matthias,
Holly,
Holly,
Francis,
Francis,
Jushin,
Jushin,
Will,
Will,
Natalie,
Natalie,
Christopher,
Christopher,
Emma,
Emma,
Sam,
Sam, Zoe,
Zoe,
Ming,
Ming,
Sagan,
Sagan,
Jordan,
Jordan,
Cabin,
Cabin.
Do we do it? Hello, I know, amazing. And you know, as some of you know, I've been away for a while. I come back and I like create all catawampus activity here. We can't figure out how to go across the hall, but we're here. We're here, and I'm thrilled to be here. So, I was on pilgrimage. Returned about a month ago. I spent 5 months walking across America, and people always seem to want to know, well, what did you find out? What do you think? And you know, I'm going to be sifting through this for a while, and so this is like, I mean, there have been a number of Dharma talks I've given along the way. You know, in Nebraska and in Iowa and in some other state. I can't remember. It probably began with an I. And I will be also giving a series of 3 talks, not at Buddha Eye, but through the nonprofit Liberty Walk. So the next Saturday is the first one. So I'll be talking about this for a while. So if you're dissatisfied, you know, just if I don't say it today, well, I probably won't say it next week either, but I'll keep trying. For today, I think the first thing that I want to say that I learned on this walk is that love is hard. Love is really hard. And that's not because, in the immortal words of my sister-in-law, people suck. People don't actually suck. That was also a lesson if I needed to learn that lesson. People don't suck, but I don't know if any of you are familiar with the work of Yuval Harari. The Sapiens is one of his books. One of the things he says really well in Sapiens is, you know, the evolutionary gamble that we Homo sapiens made, not that we actually consciously made it, because evolution doesn't work that way, but the gamble is like, okay, so if we stand up and we start to activate our front paws, then our brains can grow really big, but then our bodies get really weak. Like we give up. I mean, think about us in comparison to an adult chimpanzee that could rip you in two. We can't really rip people in two physically with our hands. So we gave up this physical strength and grew these great big old brains. Yay for us, but now we have these like completely vulnerable bodies, these completely fragile things, and you know, all of the most tender jiggly bits are completely exposed all the time, right? I mean, it's crazy to be a biped human. Walking for 2,800 miles, you start to realize, oh yeah, it's really crazy to be a biped human. That bipedal life is really an interesting and audacious adventure. But so people don't suck, but we live these lives of however many decades, years we are graced to live them, that are completely crazy-makingly vulnerable. a young person that I walked with for about 5 hours one day in one of the I states. It's funny, I've got these very vivid memories of all the things, but then I sometimes wonder, like, what state was that? There was corn, but that doesn't rule anything. It could have been, must have been Nebraska. Anyway, wonderful, wonderful person. Young person, very smart, late 20s. And what the whole time we're working this like busy road, beautiful, beautiful sky, beautiful, the air was really crisp and it was a sunny day, but it was this very busy road. And I was very worried about the person I was walking with for these 5 hours because, you know, at that point I was used to walking on the side of a highway, but they weren't. But they didn't mind because their mind was going, they're completely in their head. And they were talking. It's so interesting. And what they said, no, I don't believe in God. They're a Zen Buddhist now. No, I don't believe in God. Came from a very religious background. Boy, I wasn't planning to talk about this person, but here we are. Came from a very, very evangelical Christian background. Now is an atheist. And I said, well, so what keeps you going? And they were saying, you know, I just realized we humans, we are animals that are aware of our finitude. Mm-hmm. It's like, you're 27? Wow. Amazing. But yeah, and they were like, of course it's insane. It's insane to have these tender bodies and these big old brains. So people don't suck, but this human incarnation of ours is really hard. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about those big old brains of ours in a few minutes, but it's hard for us to love because it's hard for us to be human. It's really hard. And we can't do it alone. And by love, what do I mean love? I like to use words like love. I also like to use words like God. So spoiler alert, there may be a prayer at the end of this that uses the word God in it. So if that language feels either sentimental or toxic, apologies. It's just words. Love, what do I mean by love? Something like encountering the world in full intimacy, really meeting it, right? Really pressing into it, open palms, open heart, open mind. So love is hard, and it requires a ferocious act of will to love. Like love, don't confuse it with, the flowings of oxytocin, which are great. I've got a new puppy, and so I know all about the flowing. Yeah, if this Dharma talk isn't very good, it's because I spent too much time with my puppy. So, don't confuse love, what it is to love, and the will that it requires to love with those kind of spontaneous feelings. That's actually kind of one of the points that I want to make today. I think we end up collapsing the arising of an awareness of something with what it means to carry it forward. Mm-hmm. If love is not in action, I don't know what it is, but for it to be in action requires will. And not just will, but will and grace, which is what I named this talk, which actually I really mean will and faith, but I just had to, if you were of my generation, that TV show Will and Grace, just like, okay, this is a complete aside, but I had a colleague, I used to be an academic, you may not find that hard to believe at all, but I had a colleague who ended up writing a paper called Calvin and Hobbes, about, just because of the title, because we wouldn't put, 16th century Swiss religious reformer together with a 17th century English anyway, Calvin and Hobbes. So we're will and grace, but it's really, this talk is really about will and faith. And I think more than anything else, what I learned on this walk is about the difficulty and necessity of love and the capacity of the human will, which is necessary for the act of love. And I especially learned, I think, about what will is and what it isn't, or what its limits are, or what the limits are about what we think will is. And those limits are faith. That's where faith comes in. Okay, so let me just pause here. There's suffering, right? First noble truth of our tradition. There's suffering, dukkha. However you want to translate that. Unsatisfactoriness, anxiety, difficulty. There's suffering. But suffering is precise. There is, the first noble truth there is suffering makes it sound so general, so abstract. Suffering is never general or abstract. And so although the house may always be burning, I'm alluding here to the parable in the Lotus Sutra about the children in the burning house and the father who needs to use skillful means, needs to figure out how to get them out of the house. Well, the house is always burning. News alert. There is suffering. And sometimes a 37-year-old mother is just shot dead in her car. Right? The house is always burning. And then sometimes stuff happens that brings the precision of suffering into our awareness in ways that it did not exist before. Sometimes 4 students are dead in Ohio, right? Sometimes moments happen. And this difficult life of being a Homo sapiens, which is just the life of a bodhisattva, whether we know it or not, just the life of holding the infinitude in as a mortal, fleshly, vulnerable sack of molecules. I can't remember, I started that sentence, but something like, the work of the bodhisattva is to meet that suffering, right? In its precision. So that question of what do you do right now with this suffering, this specific suffering? You know, this Dharma talk might have been different earlier this week, but are you guys feeling the weight of this particular moment of suffering?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, so what do I do now? I was recently reminded of a short essay by the great 20th century Jewish theologian Abraham Heschel, who wrote in 1971, he wrote a little, it's just a brief, I think it was a talk, he wrote a little essay called The Reasons of for My Involvement in the Peace Movement. Now, in that essay, Heschel, who was himself a survivor of Nazi Germany, he lost family there, he spent his entire rabbinic career in contemplation, as he puts it, of the ultimate issues. He wrote many beautiful books, many beautiful articles. And so he was writing this little essay to explain why a scholar of mysticism and the scripture would be an activist. Like, how does contemplation become activism? And he explained that his contemplative life itself, now he wasn't a Zen Buddhist, he was a scholar of Kabbalah and the prophets and the Torah and the mystics. But he lived a life of contemplation that led him to this life of activism, and he explained it by saying, morally speaking, there is no limit. He came to realize that morally speaking, there is no limit to the concern one must feel for the suffering of human beings. In his work as a contemplative, he says, it also became clear to me that in regard to cruelties committed in the name of a free society, some are guilty while all are responsible. There's no limit to the concern that one must feel for the suffering of human beings, or to put it in a Mahayanist flavor, there's no limit to the concern that one must feel for all beings. That truth precisely inspires our bodhisattva vows, no limit. But like the recognition that there is suffering, no limit is too big, right? What does that mean? Suffering is precise, actual, present, here, now, not suffering in general, but this suffering right here, no limit to suffering, and yet entirely relative. So we bodhisattvas were left in these moments where we feel the weight. Does this make sense? We feel the weight, the limitlessness of suffering. This infinitude that my young friend in one of those I states was talking about when they said, we're mortal animals with a sense of our own finitude. We have this infinite recognition of our own consciousness. We're left wondering, in the face of that limitlessness, what do I do right here and now? What do I do now? That's not the question, though. There's always responses. Have you noticed? There's always responses arising. There's always, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, right? The question is, what do I do now? Because responses are always present. They're always coming forward. So then what is the question? That's actually an active question. What is the question? There is a question here. And the question is our own aspiration itself. Where does it come from? Right? Does that make sense? It's not what do I do? Countless things present themselves in any moment as something to do. The question is, where does that impulse to do something, where does that come from? Right? Is it coming from a good place? So, some of you heard me talk about the origins of this pilgrimage way back. I think I talked about, I don't remember when I talked, maybe in April or May, but the origins of it happened March 1st in the wake of the Zelensky-Trump, what do we want to call that, in the Oval Office, that horrible, right? You guys can recall? And I'm just like, what the, right? And so immediately, or maybe not immediately, the next day, I woke up with this impulse to walk to Washington. So it's not like I had to say, what do I do now? It's like I had to say, where the hell does that impulse come from? What is that? What is that? So I had to step back into the impulse, find it in me, question it in my own heart. Where is that coming from? That's the question. It may sound kind of abstract or weird when I put it that way, but this is just what we experience when you're sitting Zazen and you're sitting in meditation, you're supposed to be still, you're supposed to not move, but then something is itching. And if I'm just even mentioning itching right now, probably some of you are feeling an itch somewhere, right? You get the impulse to scratch or the impulse to shift. And you think, oh no, but I'm supposed to sit still, right? Have any of you worked with this kind of like, okay, so then you're like, oh, let me notice the intention to move arising. Let me notice it. And you're like, do I move? And so maybe you move, maybe you don't move. But you stay alert to that ongoing process of assessing this intentionality that's just arisen in you in response to the world. Or it's like the famous Blue Cliff record, Case 89, right? Which is, when Ungon and Dogo, and our teacher, Hojo-san, has written a beautiful essay about just this case. So I don't want to say too much because he's already said it so beautifully. But, Ungon and Dojo are discussing Avalokiteshvara, Kuan Yin, Kanzeon. They're discussing the body of the bodhisattva of compassion, the divine emanation of compassion. And Ungon asks, what does the bodhisattva of great compassion do by having all those hands and eyes? And if you look up on our altar, there's an image of Avalokiteshvara with all these hands and tools and eyes in the palms of the hands. So the question is, what does Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva of compassion, do with all these hands and eyes? And Dogo responds, it's like someone reaching behind themselves, grasping for a pillow in the middle of the night. So this question, what to do, it's not, what do I need to do? The impulse is arising. It's arising in the darkness. It requires a stepping back, a reaching back, not a pushing forward, but a settling back into this aspiration to arise in response to whatever is needed, to whatever suffering is here, reaching for the pillow to ease the aching neck, the aching head, unconsciously, which is to say with deep deep awareness that we just don't quite yet know about. I'm really, if nothing else comes across today, I'm really wanting to urge us all to stop asking, what do I do? And to start being more curious about where in ourselves the responses that we're already contemplating, where they are coming from, what the source of those aspirations are. So, we walked across America. Our route was 2,847 miles long, not that I'm counting, give or take a few millimeters. And I shared those miles with about 30 other people, some walking like my friend in the I-State, whichever it was, for just a few hours, some like Anshin walking with us for a day, others walking with us for a few weeks. But there's one person, Bob, who walked with me the whole way. I did not know Bob before this walk started. When I say love is hard, think about the people you really love and how annoying they become. You become to them. And then think about, like, I don't know if you've ever had a roommate that you've like gone to college and you have a roommate assigned to you and you're like, I got to be with this person, right? Bob is a beautiful human being, but we're human beings. Love is hard. Anyway, I shared the walk with Bob, who became a sibling, became a dear friend. Bob is 70 years old. He's a retired Air Force. And Bob often joked that he and I were only walking halfway across America because we'd split off the walking, and one of us would drive the support vehicle, the other would walk, and we'd switch back and forth every day. Bob is tough as nails. He has run marathons as a young person, sub-3, Boston Marathon. He's tough, he's badass, right? And as a 67-year-old, he took up long-distance hiking and hiked the Pacific Crest Trail. And then at the age of 70, he's walking across America. So Bob is badass. One of the things about Bob, and I thought about this a lot when I found out about it throughout the walk, is that when Bob was walking the Pacific Crest Trail, by the end of it, he had these deep grooves in his shoulders from his pack that went all the way down to the tendons. I've seen the photographs of them, because of course he has photographs of them in his phone, and I've seen the scars, the ropey scars that are still there. Bob has scars on his shoulders from hiking the Pacific Crest Trail, carrying his pack. I think about Bob's shoulders, and I thought about Bob's shoulders, and I think about the way that folks have been inspired by the monks walking across America, those saffron-robed monks. And especially, I think they became viral, especially in the wake of Mahadam's, the tragic accident that happened in November. I've had so many people send me YouTube videos and news clips about the monks walking around. Hey, do you know about these pilgrims? Yes, I know about these pilgrims. Yes, I do. Mahadam, though, the escort vehicle, you guys maybe have seen the news about this, that got hit by a truck, and then the truck went into this monk who ended up having to have a leg amputated. There's something about the act of will that I mentioned at the beginning of this talk that's activated, I think, and inspiring in this kind of dedication to a task, right? This kind of dedication, this kind of mind over matter, those big brains of ours that can somehow do stuff that our weak bodies feel like we can't. We push it. We can push it, right? A few weeks ago, Hojo-san was talking about the perfection of determination or vow. And hearing the sighs here.
What happened?
Oh, no, sorry.
Did I do something?
You sighed, which is good, because to me these acts of enormous tenacity, there's something both beautiful about them and also crazy. Like, are we meant to push ourselves so intensely? And I think it inspires us precisely because it seems in contradistinction to the world that we live in right now, a world that seems so increasingly and appallingly about it, just bluntly about leveraging and pushing and gaining, living in a world where the stuff that never was said out loud is now being said out loud. We're just going to take the oil. You don't have the cards, I have the cards. So there's something about these acts of tenacity that I think inspire us, because they seem so contrary. Does this make sense? They seem so contrary to a world where people are set on doing things that bring leverage to this frail little body of ours. Instead, the mind pushes forward, mind over matter. And yet I keep coming back to the ways in which the goal of this life of ours is not to just push relentlessly forward, mind over matter, but somehow bring our bodies and our minds into the true alignment that they've always been in, that there's no separability there. Let me pause there for a second. And I want to say a few things more, but I want to bring your voices forward a little bit here and see if people are having thoughts and questions. And then we'll wrap up with some final thoughts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just yesterday, in kind of reviewing the week and the news, I was so busy during the week, I was kind of not doing a deep dive, but touching it. And I found myself immediately shifting to work. Like, it was unconscious. I just started moving in terms of coming up with some policies for my nonprofit that were related to ICE coming to gates and stuff like that. So I fell down the well. I was supposed to go to a coffee appointment. I missed it because I fell down the well. And when she called, it was like this mindfulness bell, because suddenly I went, oh, grief, the way I'm responding, this question of where it's coming from, being what I'm really resonating with, I realized, oh, grief has me just moving without reflecting even for a moment. I mean, it just happened. And so having that moment, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a bad action, but it was the drivenness for me. It was full unconscious, and just noticing that was a gift. Anyway.
Yeah. So pausing in that moment and noticing what's underneath. And I think grief is I know for me in the origins of my need to walk across America, grief was, I think grief is always at the heart of pilgrimage. And I think there's so much grief that's just stirring in the air right now. I mean, here's the thing about the determination, whether it's the determination of Bob doing, by the way, no grooves in my shoulders. My body's, I came through my walk pretty much unscathed. But, that kind of act of will that propels you forward and pushes you away from the fear base of the body. It's what makes it possible to love and to meet our lives open-heartedly. But how do we take care of what's underneath? And the thing about vow is there's an aspiration, the impulse to do something that arises from someplace and projects our lives forward across time toward a destination. This is true whether we're talking about pilgrimage or whether we're talking about something like a political action. There's something that arises and I'm like, I'm going to do this. And I think where we get into trouble is that we want to collapse the movement between aspiration and completion, and we want to hold on to something solid. But that aspiration comes from somewhere, which if we don't meet that somewhere, then we're just hurtling ourselves through space and time. So it's just like sitting Zazen and getting the impulse to move and saying, I gotta sit still, I gotta sit still, I gotta sit still. Right? And never encountering the little being that is struggling to wake up inside us, that is also restless, that needs love, that needs attention, that needs to be heard, but who we can't even hear until we get the aspiration to sit still, until we feel the tension to hitch our lives to a determined outcome that pushes away the immediacy of this fragile body. How is it for you all right now? Are you feeling present? Are you feeling lost? Are you feeling dazed? Are you feeling...
Myobun?
Yeah.
I'm angry.
Yeah.
Me
Very
too.
angry. And it's frustrating because, one of the precepts is not being angry.
Yeah.
But what I found recently is, objectifying people that I disagree with, or people whose actions I don't understand or just abhor, and then being reminded that they're human.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help for me to turn them into objects.
Yeah. So, a few years ago now, I taught a class here at Buddha Eye on Shantideva and the way of the Bodhisattva, and this kind of central teaching about the paramita of Kshanti, of patience, of forbearance, as a way of grappling with the kind of energy of anger in particular. And I mean, Shantideva, you could tell, like, that was his thing, was anger. I totally get it, because I'm an angry girl myself, right? I'm hot temper. And the thing is, Shantideva talks about like just staying with the heat and not doing anything, like staying with it. And that kind of, like, just stay with it can feel like the only way toward peace, because the reactivity that arises is otherwise overwhelming. And yet, as I've been realizing lately, and as I've realized really profoundly on the walk, for me to, how do I want to say this? There's something about the skillful means of just holding your tongue and not being reactive, which nonetheless holds on to the reactivity. I'll illustrate this with my married life, right? So, I'm not going to be irritated. I'm not going to react to my incredibly irritating husband when he does his incredibly irritating stuff. I'll just be like, I won't say anything. I'll be non-reactive. I'm going to practice non-reactivity. My husband's fabulous, by the way. But teaching example, right? So I've held off on that reactivity, but in a way, I'm still keeping the outside as the place that I'm reacting to. This is why love is so hard. It's not just a matter of me not getting triggered. The stepping back into the heart of our aspiration, which is also the heart of what triggers us, the stepping back doesn't stop, at least in my experience. Because within a second, I'm externalizing whatever I'm not reacting to. That's what my non-reactivity is. It's this thing out there and I'm not going to react to it. If I keep stepping back, it's in me. This is in me. Now, I'm not saying there's not a heinous, evil, which is not a word I like to use, but that there's not bad stuff out there. I'm just saying the out there is in here. I can't actually get away from it. And that's stepping back again and again. Does this make sense? Like just sinking back into the aspiration? Not what am I going to do? Not how am I going to not react? How do I maintain nonviolence, non-anxious presence? Not like, how do I just, the world is shit, but how do I... Stepping back again and again is actually the movement of faith. Because whatever's arising in me that's so urgent, I've got to walk across America, it's not arising from me. Something is arising through me. I don't know what it is. can probably still tell that you can probably tell that I still don't have words for what this is. But something is arising, which I will only meet if I keep settling back in. Not to what am I going to do, but what's here? What's arising? Where does it come from? So here's the place where I bring up God language. So one of the things that nurtured me on my walk, besides verses of faith mind, which is kind of at the heart of all of this. So that's a scripture within our tradition, which I hope to teach later this year. But is a prayer by the Trappist monk Thomas Merton, who is also quite taken with Zen Buddhism. And this is a prayer which I recited a lot, although I never quite memorized it in that weird way where you have these words that are in your heart, but you can't quite remember them ever. Like, this is so deep. Wait, what? How's it go again? Anyway, it uses lots of God language. My Lord God, I have no idea where I am going. I do not see the road ahead of me. I cannot know for certain where it will end, nor do I really know myself. And the fact that I think I am following your will does not mean that I am actually doing so. But I believe that the desire to please you does in fact please you. And I hope that I have that desire in all that I am doing. I hope that I will never do anything apart from that desire. And I know that if I do this, you will lead me by the right road, though I may know nothing about it. Therefore will I trust you always, though I may seem to be lost and in the shadow of death. I will not fear, for you are ever with me, and you will never leave me to face my perils alone. Why that prayer moves me, besides the fact that I can really relate to, I do not see the road ahead of me and I have no idea where I'm going. That opening stance of, I'm on the path. I don't know what this path is. I think I'm doing the right thing, but I don't know. That all rings very true for my experience of being triggered and then moving into action while lingering with the trigger. But the part that really moves me about this prayer is it turns toward the end when he says, but. He says, the fact that I think I am following your will does not mean that I am actually doing so, but I believe that the desire to please you does in fact please you. So in that moment, Merton is touching into this desire. When I say, don't ask what to do, be curious about this aspiration that's arising in you, that desire, whatever it is, trust that. Not that you know what it means, not that you know how to put it into place, but that you are touching something. You are being called to something. You don't know what it is. You don't even know that there is a call here. But that desire, that's the only thing I know that can ground us. I believe that the desire to please you, I believe that the desire to ease this suffering does in fact ease suffering. And I hope that I have that desire. I hope that I have that bodhicitta, that thought of awakening, that aspiration to awaken. I hope that I have that in all that I'm doing. And I hope that I will never do anything apart from that desire. Anchoring ourselves in the aspiration and the hope that we can stay steadfast through that. It's not easy. We don't do it alone. We do it in places like this. We do it on the open road, but even there we're not alone. All right, that's what I got for now. Ooh. We do have a few minutes for any comments or, yeah.
I was just like you were asking me about. I think I've practiced that just because I can harbor a lot of resentment for past perceived or wrongs. And anything that reminds me of it, then I just find myself just ruminating on that thing again. And I have practiced like just feeling, for me it's in my body. I feel where's that feeling, and then I feel the burn, and then I just remind myself the world's on fire, and then I just feel, those poems from the original poems from the women that were with Buddha. There's one woman who says that just throw it all into the fire and just watch it burn and burn and burn. So it really inspired me to practice that. I feel like that's what you're talking about, and I feel like it does help, but I find I am just so full of fear.
Yeah.
That I avoid.
Yeah.
I run from my hide. I want to go live in the woods, in a cabin, and just run away from because of all that's going on. So that's harder for me. I just listen to audiobooks compulsively and avoid, escape. This is where I am. So that's harder for me to face.
Carrie, you doesn't seem like you're escaping or avoiding anything at all.
Or I just sink into it and I lose myself into that,
Yeah.
The sadness. The grief.
It's
despair.
It's heartbreaking, right? It's heartbreaking. And there are countless ways that we're responding to that heartbreak all the time. So some of us, I think I share with you, like just this, we can feel it, like emotions, we're held in the place of emotion. And that's a shape that it takes for us. That is itself a response. That's our heart responding. So just being even curious about that heart that feels. So some of this for me is like it's all response. Like this human life is response. And each of those responses are an aspiration to move forward in the world. Does that make sense at all? Mm-hmm. And being curious about it. Taking the backward step again and again and again. And trusting that I may not understand this, but it's coming from somewhere real.
I appreciate that what you said about the vulnerable body, and like it's fear of death, it's fear of of suffering of everybody.
Yeah.
And what this is all leading to.
You can blame evolution for this.
Yeah.
Damn you, evolution!
I read recently that like European humans went through a bottleneck during the last ice age, and there was very few people left. And then the writing asked the question, what kind of people were the people that survived that bottleneck?
Yeah.
And we are descended from the people who has voracious will to survive and do anything.
Yes, and bless our will. We need the will is amazing. And the side of it that's toxic is the side that like wants to crush time and space and just pursue manifest destiny and but thank goodness for the will. It's amazing. Molly.
We were talking about, the suffering is always there, and then particular instances of suffering sort of come into focus for us. I had a really different response to what people found outrageous this week, and I am not surprised at all that the empire killed a white lady who wasn't compliant, right? This happens to people of color. There are 1,300 immigrants in Oregon who have been detained this year. I'm actually kind of shocked that her family received so much support that they closed down their GoFundMe when there are like tens of thousands of families who need this support. So I actually felt like actually really sad that we could feel so sad about a white lady that we don't share that, and we, I mean like the general we, and that we don't like offer that compassion broadly. Like why, the question of like why do I feel outraged about this is one to, I think, sit with. Just be like, why can't I share that feeling of indignity and outrage more broadly?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Yeah.
it marked me differently.
Yeah, it's beautiful. No, exactly. I mean, this is the things that will propel us are as individual as we are, and also are cultural, and also are specific to all of the conditioning, right? And if we're not curious, we just get propelled, as if, oh, well, this is the way. Yeah. No, thank you for that.
I'm going to say thank you for bringing it up, because it's something that I've kind of been I guess, stewing in for a long time now, and that is the kind of verbiage, like the recency verbiage around what's happening right now. There seems to be a lot of talk like, oh, you know, feels like the world is on fire. And I just feel like, for me, as a Black woman, especially one in a very predominantly white space, it frustrates me that only when suffering is wearing a white face that suddenly there's urgency. It's just like, this has been my reality my entire life. There's been no tangible change to my life at all in these last couple of years. And so it just frustrates me that it seems like, why is it that we can only recognize suffering when it looks like us, when we see it reflected back in the mirror. And now I feel like there's like a lot of calls to, well, we have to do something, we have to do something. It's like, well, we have had to do something for a long time. But in a way, it just feels like another way in which my humanity is denied, because it's like, well, only when something is shockingly terrible and caught on camera and put on the internet that folks are like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. But then when folks, it seems to me, are experiencing what their brothers and sisters have experienced always, now there's like this like urgency of suffering that I just kind of find insulting in a way. And so, I mean, it's not a question, it's just a comment. I hope that as we make through this period of time, that perhaps we can come out the other side understanding more of the humanity of other people, even when they don't look like us.
Say thank you, and thank you for calling me out. It's always urgent, right? And this is a supremely fucked up moment in our, and I don't mean like this week, I mean like America. So how do we get down to the core of this awakening without, on the one hand, being so general and there is something, I mean, my point really, you called me out beautifully, both Molly as well. But my point here is that it becomes so general, the Mahayana Buddhist message of there is suffering. Or on the other side, a kind of activist energy of, but now we must do something. And what I'm trying to find a way to articulate and live is the completely specific urgency for this body in this moment, so that transformation happens. And I don't know how to do that on my own. I can't do that on my own. I know it's going to be hard. This is all going to be hard. And the fact that we have in this assembly a loving and supportive enough space that there can be some grappling with the stuff that is supremely hard seems very precious to me, and as it kind of testifies to, I think, what we've built here, what Hojo-san has made possible here, what the lineage that flows through us.
I say one thing?
Yeah.
Concerning grief. So what I found is that in the practice of grief, being embraced by grief and embracing grief, that is like waking up to something that you knew all along. It's not like something changed and that's why I'm grieving in the depths of it. It's that we know impermanence in the deepest sense of the word through grief. So that practice of forbearance, the deepest level is called the implications of the Dharma, which means that there is a truth which we run from all the time, but it's there. So I just wanted to offer that in that the actuality of grief can lead us back to these deep truths, but not so much because everything's changed, but because it's always been true. Whatever that thing is that we're experiencing the grief about has always been true, and there's a way through, and it sounds like you walked right through that gateway for a year or
Really
half
felt
a
like
year.
a year.
Yeah, 3,000 miles.
Yeah, but I don't actually have to say something, but I very much want to say something, and that is how long I've been alive, which I assume most of you know. So I would like to talk a little bit about the decade of death, which were the 60s, and how many, 5 people assassinated. And Medgar Evers, which most people don't know who he was. He was head of the NAACP in Mississippi. So I could go on with each of these stories that culminate with Dr. Martin Luther King, and I don't know how many months later, Robert Kennedy. And then Kent State. So this National Guard killed 4 students. Jackson State, which was a black college, they were shot in their dormitory. So this went on, and there were riots all over the country, especially when King was killed. So I don't know if everybody knows, I assume most of you know this history. So it's worse, I think now. And so if we look at, there were people that never stopped working. There were people that never stopped doing something. And so there's, as far as I know myself, in addition to the human grief that we're born into, I probably have been in grief since the end of the 60s. With nothing to do about what's happening. I say nothing, and I'm sorry to use that word, but it feels insurmountable sometimes. And I very much appreciate what you're saying about this response being also the next action. So I'm not negating or quarreling with anything. I'm just expressing my own reality.
The response is ongoing. Grateful to Hojo-san for talking about the waking up to what's always been true. It's hard. This is not, why would we think this is easy? We're spending Sunday morning in a zendo. Why would we think that it's easy to live this human life? And we also have each other. So I'm grateful to you. And let's be in this together. Oh, yeah, Susan.
I just wanted to make one comment about the last 4 people that became the humanity or whatever you're saying, that the Ice Age brought it down to like just these few. And you were saying that maybe those were the ones that had the will to lead. What I thought about was maybe those were the 4 that knew that it was a lot bigger than the 4 of them, and that they were the spiritual ones, and we are the descendants of the ones who knew that it's 4 of us, we need to stick together, and we're going to do this to the end.
The glass of history is half full.
The Buddha Eye Tree Project kicked off yesterday, and today with a tree walk, tree school, and today we have trees that we are able to give away from a generous donation. Zach is going, at noontime, Zach is going to talk a little bit about that.
I have some trees. Different vibe, I know. They're small, and anybody's interested in one. I have mostly natives, a few non-native. They need a good home. I hate to see them not at least try. So if anybody's interested in one, I've got Port Orford cedar, Pacific madrone, Oregon white oak, a bunch of nice looking rhododendrons, the native one, and one of my personal favorites, flowering dogwood from back east, and also from back east red oaks. So if anybody would like to hear me talk about them, hang around. I also could use, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 people to help me move them. Thanks.
I have two announcements. One of them is also about trees, essentially. On January 22nd, the state is having a hearing at the fairgrounds about changing a forestry plan, which currently requires 30% preservation of mature forests, but the current plan only requires 15% retention. So if you like forest bathing or just want the forest to exist, whether or not we use it, you can talk to me about what it would mean to either, if you want talking points or just more information about where to go. It's January 22nd at 5:30. And then the second, on a more lighthearted note, is that the fundraising committee, in addition to being grateful for the community that came together on Friday to hang out, is organizing Sangha circles, which is a way for you to meet a few other people and have some social time. Because some of us do okay in big assembly, and some people maybe like having a smaller gathering. So if you're interested in meeting with a group of other Sangha members, starting the week of March 30th for 8 weeks for an hour and a half a week, we can provide logistics and we'll be coordinating. There's my emails in the bulletin, or you can talk to me in person. Thank you.
I have an announcement. My name is Mandy, and Shuho and I welcomed you to the temple this morning. If you're new, welcome. We're glad you're here. And if you have questions, please find one of us after the assembly, and we'll be able to help.
I have an announcement. There will be coffee and treats after assembly, and so I'll be bringing the carts down.
My name is Yoshina. Good luck with the Dana announcement. Dana is just an act of giving here. We don't have any kind of memberships here at Budai Temple. Everything is offered freely. So any of the programs you've seen here today, heard about today, or the ones coming up here with the spring term, everything is offered freely here. So we appreciate you supporting us in supporting the Sangha in that endeavor there. There are Dana bowls. There's one out on the Ingawa here, out on the back porch, and there's one up in the front room. You can also contribute through online means and things like that. So if you have any questions about that, I'd be happy to go in more detail with that with you. And it's not just all about, I mean, the money helps keeps the lights on here and pay everything else that's going on. But also, you know, if you've got short on funds there, there's always opportunities to donate your time to the temple here as well. So feel free to speak to me about that as well. Thank you.
The spring programming guide is out now, and I wanted to make a special encouragement for people who are considering to become term students for the spring term. This is a very special spring term in which Jakuen will be the head monk, and so this is really a not often type opportunity to be able to participate in a practice term with a head monk, and of course with Jakuen. So I just encourage me. A number of people have said, I've been thinking about taking your class on Tuesday night or Thursday, but I can't do both. If you have that question, the answer is be a term student. Okay.